Welcome, my friends, to Industrial Age Babylon, if it was sucked into Dante's Inferno and roasted on the spit for a good 10,000 years. A hellish heart of darkness, where blackened ziggurats and the fires of industry burn eternally, and the Chaos Dwarfs do their dark bidding on the internet. This is Uzkulak, the place of the skull, the gateway to the Darklands, and the original seat of the dwarfs who ventured east before the Great Catastrophe struck, and they were cut off from the Karazankor in a tide of demons and other horrible things. This diabolical siege map is custom made by FSF Ranger, who is doing his damnedest to keep map making and modding alive in general. Probably one of my greatest regrets with Game 3 was the sheer amount of mods, maps, and modders we lost in that shuffle that just never made the jump to the final game of the trilogy, which meant tens of thousands of hours of amazing work will probably never really be enjoyed again, where so many legendary battles and so many legendary maps were lost like tears in the rain. Battles like these bring back that nostalgia for me, and this was a great one, so strap in. We've got a wicked lore-inspired scenario for you all today. Playing on Duke's Damnations, the Chaos Dwarfs and Tamurkhan the Maggot Lord have struck on accord and will defend this northern bastion against the combined might of Bretonnia, the Imperial armies of Nuln, and the Dawi, who have some grudges to strike from the Damaz Kron, and will probably be adding a couple dozen more pages to it when all is said and done. So in this cracked and writhing hellscape, covered in fire and flame, what is there of value? What are we doing here? Why would the forces of order march all this way? Well, it's the economic bedrock of the Chaos Dwarf Empire, through which weapons, slaves, and armor flow through. Beneath it is a great sea canal that connects the Falls of Doom near the capital of Zarnagrund to the Sea of Chaos in the west, linking Norska and the ruinous powers directly to the children of Hasha. And while it remains standing, this mighty empire will continue to blight the kingdoms of order. So they want it done with. The city itself is incredibly defensible, as you can see, and is in fact so large that it's quite difficult to fill with units, even in a 3v3 or 4v4. But that's not such a bad thing. It means there's a lot of room for fighting retreats and tactics that don't just involve playing football with each other, slamming everything into each other at the gates or in the final plaza. And nestled deep inside, under the balefire braziers the Dawi Zar are so well known for, the final boss awaits. The Immortals and a host of Ironsworn waiting in reserve. As we come out the other side, we'll get a closer look at the northern battlements of the city, where the Legion of Asgore is waiting to get stuck in and will likely face down the combined might of Bretonnia and the dwarfs who are crossing the oil fields now. In this match, I will command the pestilent hosts of Tamurkhan and Nurgle, with Case the Befouled and his Plague Doggos as my cavalry wing. Already, Dreadquake Mortars and Infernal Ironsworn unleashing with their armaments, beating a deadly salvo of percussion and pain over the top of the battlements, and they are determined to make the invaders pay for every single inch of ground they try and cover here as they move towards the walls. Got a good look at Theodore Bruckner, the Titan Headsman, and Elspeth von Draken leading the armies of Nuln on the western side of the city. Pajad controls the Legion of Asgore and Drazoath the Ashen atop Cinderbreath the Bale Taurus, and some Portuguese Bean controls Zatan the Black and the war host of Zar. The forces of Order side, the Duke controls Karazakarak, Orion's Hope controls Wissenland and Nuln, and Baki, the Bretonnians under the saintly gaze of Raponce de Leones. Now, the Duke's Damnations is a battle overhaul mod, which means there are some additional units, like the Knights of Manon using tridents and fighting on foot. Pretty damn cool knightly order for the armies of Bretonnia. And, of course, there are going to be some battle mechanic changes as well. One of the biggest being artillery and range troops are more support-oriented. They are not quite as killy. They can still do a ton of damage, given enough time, but a Dreadquake mortar shot is not going to devastate an entire regiment of infantry in a single salvo. Needs time to do that damage. Thankfully for the defenders, there's plenty of time here as they have all kinds of fortifications to plop their elites behind, and slowly, inexorably grind away at the numbers of the attackers, who do have numerical superiority here. Nurgle has a very elite army in this one, as do the Chaos Dwarfs. True to lore, focused heavily on Plague Ogres, Rot Knights, and big scary monsters. Dawi Zar are going to be much the same way. Elite infantry, powerful artillery, with numbers really only bolstered by hobgoblins and a smattering of slaves. Gun and cannon fire already starting to take their toll in the front ranks, slowing and disorganizing the initial waves of attackers here. And you'll notice Dreadquake mortars on this custom map can actually wheel themselves up to the battlements and fire from the walls themselves, which is awesome. Only a feature we've wanted in sieges for like the last 8 years or so. Plague Bears feasting in that fight with Flagellants. Perfect engagement for them to whet their Plague Swords. High base weapon strength, high HP pool, also getting some help from Flem bombardment cannons, fighting an unarmored and frenzied band of lecherous old men. Expect the demons to win that handily, but they're going to have to deal with wave after wave from the armies of Nuln, Bretonnia, and the Dawi, who have some potent elites themselves that will likely be waiting in reserve for now. And they don't have to worry too much about getting blasted by artillery fire because high HP pools and the fact that cannon fire, gunfire, again, more support in this mod. Unless you're really close to units, they're not just going to outright explode you like they would in the base game. What will still explode you, though, are the conflagrations belched forth by Cinderbreath the Baal Taurus, who has been watching, waiting, commiserating with his master Drazuath, and sees an opportunity to let a rip into the horde of peasants massing down below. Dozens, maybe even hundreds, instantly turned into a smoldering pile of ruin there. The Red Bull will have his choice of snack if he wants it, but honestly, we're not talking A5 Wagyu here. Bretonnian peasants give Nurgle cultists a run for their money in terms of disgusting, disease-riddled abominations. You'd be hard-pressed to tell the difference. So he might skip that meal entirely, maybe roast himself up some knights a little bit later on in the battle. Either way, just opened up a huge section of battlement for the defenders, routed off 1 or 2 units with that breath attack alone. Slayers moving towards the edge of the battlements as well. Thorgrim Grudgebearer and the Thunder Barge waiting on the wings for a good opportunity to move in, start smacking dudes around. Slayers are up there, fighting the Hobgoblins, and a beautiful, straight gorgeous Dreadquake mortar shot, causing an earthquake in the middle of these regiments as they move forward, and that slow debuff is really going to open up the opportunity for Fireglaves to blast their way in. Bile Trolls into the thick of it now, smashing and bashing some Northern Mariners, and take a look at these animations. I don't even know what that disgusting flesh sack is. It almost looks like they pull their own intestines out of their butthole and then wrap them up into this big, disgusting globule and then trap them and slam them up and down and over again. I don't even know what's going on there. I'm not sure I want to know. Let's move the camera away because that looks like it should be from some weird fetish XXX rated movie. I don't even know what's going on. Nasty stuff. We'll probably get some close-ups later on. Hell yeah, brother. Cheers from Iraq. Peasants fighting some regular slaves here on the battlements as the Hobgoblins fire in from the flank. Really good archer volleys there. Exactly how you want to use archers in Vanilla 2, but especially in Duke's Damnations. Shield block chance, I think, is severely increased in this mod. So shooting into shielded troops from the front is basically going to do nothing, which is fairly accurate to reality. So getting on the flank or rear and shooting into their unarmored backsides, really big deal there. And this is a cool fight. It's basically the Slayer equivalent of the Dawi Zar fighting Pig Grease Slayers. Very different combat doctrine and equipment. Obviously, Infernal Guard way tankier than Slayers, but neither one of those units are particularly well suited for fighting the other. One has armor-piercing great weapons. The other one doesn't have a lot of AP. They're going to have a difficult time hurting each other. I would love to hear those conversations because Infernal Guard are quite literally the Chaos Dwarf equivalent of Slayers. They are banished and essentially, ooh, nasty point-blank shot from the Dreadquake on the wall there. Infernal Guard, particularly in Legion of Asgore, are atoning for their failures by welding searing hot armor to their face and bodies, only stripping them away once they have achieved great glory and brought victory back to their commander. Theodore Bruckner, looking like he might be gearing up to enter the breach and charge into the Forsaken, and Plague Bear still defending the walls and the gates there. Bile Trolls waiting in reserve. The Great Khan on his Toe Dragon Bubalos has not stuck into the fight yet. We'll wait and see. He may decide to wait until a little bit later in the battle when some of these units are a little bit more beat up and the terror can really set in. But a good charge or two at the gate might be a good idea. And here comes Theodore Bruckner. Stormlands blazing in the foggy gloom, and he is striking for almost 700 weapon strength right now. Leading the charge, he'll need some infantry support soon. Big thing about legendary heroes and lords in Duke's Damnations is that they have much smaller HP pools, but they attack more often. So they're very high DPS. They can butcher stuff, especially other duelists, if they get a good engagement, but they cannot fight isolated for very long most of the time. if they run into the middle of a group of Chosen or even Marauders with great weapons, they can get chunked down pretty quickly. So he will have to be careful, but he is a great fighter, and backed up by Northern Mariners, they should be able to hold out pretty well and create a beachhead for the rest of this Wissenland and Nuln army. Elspeth von Draken has been providing some support from her casting aspect of the Dread Knight to imbue terror, and there we go. Get a look at the pink socks that are just being ripped out of their own esophagus, their own intestines, just slamming them down and busting their way through this infantry. May not be an easy thing for the spears to break through, but they do have the numbers, and Nurgle has not committed too many troops here to this initial fight. I think Nurgle's really banking on the reserves, particularly Kaisk and the Rat Knights, Toad Dragon as well, to turn the tide once the Imperials are fully committed and within the walls. Bruckner is straight up putting on a show right now, relieving 24 Marauders of their craniums, big swipes of his sword, cleaving through their number. Fearsome Combatant and Titan Headsman debuff stacked with Fate of Buna from Elspeth von Draken, wielding the Wind of Shaiish. It's a nasty combo that will render most infantry units combat ineffective. But the Bile Trolls will provide a lot more cushion for the push-in now that Halberdiers are into the engagement. Not really what Bile Trolls want to be fighting head-on, but again, they do have some infantry support here, and that should make the engagement a lot more palatable for them. You'll notice they charged in, they got some attacks in, they back up behind the safety of their own great weapon infantry. Let's shift on over to the other side of the battlefield now and see what's crack-a-lackin'. Oh, it's getting epic now. Dreadquake Mortars and Blessed Field Trebuchets trading shots. Slayers, Miners, the Dwarfs are into the thick of it now. Past the first wave of walls and battlements and infantry. They're causing some havoc here. But the Dreadquake Mortars are making life incredibly difficult and landing some absolutely disgusting shots in the middle of their battle lines while the Air Force moves in and provides some close range support from above. The Bale Taurus by himself probably cannot zone that Thunder Barge out. I'm not even entirely sure Drazoath wants to get near it, because then the Grudge Rakers can open up with their shotguns from point blank range. They'll do a number on single entities. Gunpowder troops still very good versus big monsters in Duke's Damnations. Blessed Trebuchet hitting the flank of some Hobgoblins and causing all kinds of carnage there. Again, the Forces of Order are not going all in initially. They're wearing down the defenders first, looking for some opportunities to strike where there may be gaps in the line or maybe spots on the walls where they can easily disembark with their siege towers and there aren't many defenders waiting around. Chaos Warriors are waiting at this first capture point. They will be defending that with some elite monstrous infantry and perhaps Tamurkhan himself. He's kind of been patrolling, hasn't done a whole lot yet, doesn't want to get stuck in with the Marienburg landship and some of the halberds that are nearby. Probably feel like it's a little bit too early to commit him, particularly if he gets stuck into an engagement with a bunch of armor-piercing bonus for large halberds. He could be in really bad shape, but you can tell he's itching for a fight. He wants to get in there. He may unleash a breath attack soon. We'll take a look at that when it happens, if it happens. Henri the Giants, Henri Le Massif, taking on a duel with Drazoath the Ashen and Cinder Breath atop his Hippogriff. Not sticking around as a deluge of arrows from below Hobgoblin archers make sure that he retreats. Peasants doing a pretty good job of creating a foothold for this Bretonnian force. And remember, their elites, their cavalry, Réponse des Lyonnais, and of course, those Knights of Manon have not been committed yet. Expect to see the cavalry only be deployed in the mid to later stages of the battle once there's openings for them to charge down these massive causeways. And that is what I love about a siege scenario and layout, a custom siege map like this one. There's so much more room for tactics than there are in the base game in vanilla, where the streets are really narrow and there's not a lot of room to maneuver. You don't have to worry about pathfinding anywhere near as much. There's a lot more ways to approach a siege on a massive custom siege map like this one, and really I think FSF Ranger has done a fantastic job. It is maybe the best custom siege map I have seen in Warhammer 3. And honestly, it really reminds me of some of the best custom siege maps from Warhammer 2, which was kind of the glory days, the heyday of the modding scene, particularly when it comes to maps and custom scenarios. So right now, Kadai Destroyer, just a gigantic industrial behemoth with an evil magma heart at its core, smashing, bashing, and crashing peasant mob with pitchforks and spades. Probably not going to do very well against this freak of nature. It's going to be satisfying to watch that monster go to work. Blessed Field Trebuchets taking down the ziggurats and the statues that adorn this hellish city. Kadai Fireborn charging in alongside some slaves. Don't really care if any of these goblins die in the fight. I think even standing next to a Fireborn would probably be extremely unpleasant, if not outright deadly. Third-degree burns pretty much guaranteed when engaging them in melee. And the Shield Breakers, who are tunnel fighting experts, designed, born, and bred to fight in a tunnel isolated without support. They actually get big-time buffs, and they're the only unit fighting nearby, I believe. They're going to be taking on a whole horde all by themselves. We'll see how long they last. They do have flaming attacks that may not benefit them too much against Fireborn, but if they can grind down some of that elite monstrous infantry for the Chaos Dwarfs, it could open up some opportunities for the push when the Air Force and the rest of the Dawi army moves into the city. Cinderbreath has had enough, stampeding his way through the peasants. He's going to move backwards, actually out onto the open plain above the oil fields. That would be really cool, by the way, if you could ignite those oil fields and maybe kill a unit of infantry. Maybe a bit complex. There'd be a lot of coding required to do something like that, but that would be incredible. And here comes Tamurkhan. He's waiting. He sees the Northern Mariners moving up. Bunch of shield warriors, spears, and Imperial state troops moving in, gearing up, ready to attack that first capture point. Now, that will provide some morale buffs and maybe some melee attack or defense buffs as well. Nothing crazy, nothing game-breaking, but any stat boost, particularly one that counteracts vigor loss. I mean, when you think about it, a long 30 or 40-minute battle, you're going to have some losses there, not just in terms of number, but in terms of your general stats and vigor. Anything that counteracts that could make an impact in the later stages of a game like this one. You see Kaisk and the Rot Knights have moved in next to Tamurkhan and are coming in to reinforce should they be needed. They will be needed at some point, but again, the elites for a lot of these armies are waiting in reserve. They don't want to get committed too early because they don't want to be run over. They want to be there for the second and third stages of this siege, where the outcome will be truly decided. Infernal Guard with their fire glaives. This is such an incredibly epic shot. Magic missile coming in from Drazorath the Ashen above. The Destroyer doing what his name outright implies. Fire glaives shooting in and explosions knocking down their formation. Angels above, the Thunder Barge and the Royal Hippogriff Knights with a gyrocopter contingent looking like they want to get stuck in too. Soon they'll be dropping bombs and banging moms. That Thunder Barge, when it begins unloading, it's going to cause some problems. It's holding on to some ammunition for now. Looks like the Empire and the Bretonnians, alongside the Dawi, are breaking through those initial waves and getting deeper inside the city. And over on this side, Nurgle versus the forces of Nuln, Halberds and Imperial State troops into the thick of it. Bile Trolls and Chaos Warriors fighting back to back. They should cause horrific losses for the attackers here, but they have been abandoned. They have been isolated. Tamurkhan, the Maggot Lord, atop Bubalos, the Toad Dragon, Kaisk, and the Rot Knights. They did not want to stay in the plaza because they realized they might get cut off by the Knights who have come in now. And yeah, the Knights in Carmine, or rather the Knights of the Black Rose, with a classic hammer and anvil maneuver, cavalry from behind, a tanky squadron of infantry from the front, and Theodore Bruckner in support with Elspeth von Draken casting some of her death magic. All that together should open up the first capture point for the attackers and maybe start shifting the tide of battle. Balance of power for the first 15 minutes has been in favor of the Chaos Dwarfs and the host of Nurgle. That may not remain true for the entire battle here. Infernal Guard and Hammerers fighting it out, and Hammerers should win that one pretty handily. Infernal Guard and Infernal Ironsworn are elite. They are fantastic troops, but Hammerers are armor-piercing, and they're designed to crack their way through any Hellforged armor. But a Kadai Destroyer is a force multiplier of epic proportions. That thing is like 4 times the size of an African elephant, and it can shoot balls of magma at point-blank range. Hot in, so hot in here. It's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes. Dawi getting so hot, they're going to take their clothes off. Let it hang all out. What else is there to do when Nelly is singing his sweet lullabies in your ear canal and a Kadai Destroyer is marching through your ranks? You have no choice. Get naked, or die, or both. I don't know, something. I had an opportunity to showcase my talent as a songbird of our generation, so I took it. Empire are clear and away the favorites on that side now. They have pushed Nurgle back. They have killed a bunch of troops on that side, but Nurgle still retains their elites. Tamurkhan and his Rat Knights moved into the center of the city. The Shield Breakers are still alive here. Just a horde of slaves at their feet. That's amazing. But they have died to the Kadai Destroyer and the Kadai Fireborn. Dwarfs are moving in as well. The Air Force has still not really been stuck in. I actually believe that one of the Gyrocopter units they have is a melee variant. One designed not to shoot or really drop bombs, but to charge in and blend things with those huge whirling blades. Super cool. Can't wait to get a shot of those bad boys a little bit later on. Royal Hippogriff Knights and the Thunder Barge still looking for a good opportunity here. But yeah, the defenders are moving back towards the tertiary capture points, ensuring they have them well defended, because the attackers have a powerful foothold inside the city now, and historically, that would mean death for the defenders. If the attackers are inside, you have already lost. Not true in Total War Warhammer, and Tamurkhan, the Maggot Lord, has some nasty surprises for this Bretonnian army. Now he will be fully committed, and now is when he will unleash the first of his disgusting, foul breath attacks. Boom! Shakalaka! Bretonnian infantry just caught in a torrent of rancid, armor-melting foulness, and the archers lost half their number in that volley as the fire glaives open up. And this is another epic shot. I mean, you can see the city is built into the mountainside in the background. Archer fire crisscrossing across the beaten zone, and fire glaives about to tank the charge of these Bretonnian foot troops. The peasants into the meat grinder now. Infernal Guard may decide to retreat, and a big-time charge coming in from Kaze the Befouled. First time we've called his name, really, and that is a 200-kill charge instantly. Decimating, devastating 2 entire regiments of infantry, and they will continue through and rout all of it. They are truly elite in Duke's Damnations, a terrifying cavalry force, and man, they got 150-plus kills alongside Tamurkhan's 100-plus on his breath attack. So Nurgle, they are not out of this fight yet, despite not having many numbers left on the battlefield. And Bretonnia has to be very careful moving into that plaza, because more death will await them, surely. I'm serious, and don't call me Shirley. Here come the Knights, though. The elites of Bretonnia, this is really what they're all about. So while we haven't seen the best of Nurgle yet, or just got our first taste of it, Dreadquake Mortar about to land in and amongst their number. Nice one. Beautiful shot. Knights Errant, Knights of the Realm, Knights of Manan. Certainly some Grail Knights or Questing Knights, I would imagine, too, from Rapunz. Yeah, this is where Bretonnia really shines. And in these secondary and tertiary plazas, that is where they can bring the might of their cavalry to bear. So we'll keep an eye on that and see what they can do. Speaking of the best, Plague Ogres are into the fight now, fighting alongside Marauders and Forsaken. Another Fate of Buna, I think, or maybe a Death's Timekeeper. Actually, both at once. Minus 8 melee defense, minus 15 melee attack, minus 15% speed, and the debuffs from Death's Timekeeper, making it so that these monsters of infantry can't make the impact they would love to. Bunch of grenades going off from the Marienburg landship, and the Halberds are fighting. Oh my, he just threw a booger at that man. He just threw a booger at that poor man. Oh, he's throwing up on him now. Oh, that's disgusting. That is absolutely foul. Welcome to Nurgle, baby. They die anyway. Halberds shoved deep into their guts. They have broken off. And now there is pretty much a clean shot towards the second to last capture point for the Empire on that side, who are looking very strong, as are the Bretonnians and Dawi. Dwarfs don't have a lot of numbers remaining either, but they still have that Thunder Barge, and Thorgrim Grudgebear is leading his gyrocopters down the southern side of the plaza, this back causeway, into the final hellish capture point, where all the Balefire braziers are lit. Zathan the Black and the Immortals still waiting back there. We'll see if Tamurkhan, the Maggot Lord, and Kaze the Befouled decide to retreat all the way back, or if they use these open plazas to get some good cavalry charges in. If you want to bring your cavalry to bear, I think where they're at right now is probably a pretty good spot. And that is going to be one hell of an infernal fireworks display. Flames of Osgore erupting beneath their very feet. Magma spewing into the air from the realm of Hashut. and the foot squires and the Knights of Bretonnia. A lot of dismounted ones here, which makes sense. They are gearing up for a siege. You probably want to have some of your typically mounted knights get off their horses and charge into melee alongside the peasants. The virtue of empathy is always important for any self-respecting knight, or at least the pretense of a virtue of empathy. Just make them feel a little bit better about themselves. Knights are better than peasants. We all know it. They're not even the same species. Oh, ho, ho. But you know what? Fireglaves don't care if you are a peasant or a knight or a horse. Doesn't matter if you trained in warfare, in battle since you were 3 years old and up jumped to become a Grail Knight to fight hellish creatures from the warp. A bullet is a bullet, and a bullet can kill. And they're dying in droves to these beautifully placed shots. The knights are being absolutely destroyed, and they're gonna have to retreat. An entire unit, entire regiments of knights and peasants destroyed there. And now the Infernal Guard and Fireglaves are retreating beyond the safety of their own battle lines at the bottom of this causeway as peasant archers fire in from above. Super cool, incredibly epic. We are 25 minutes in and still this battle is raging and still huge armies left. The outcome hangs in the balance. Bretonnia will be forced down the main causeway on the right directly into gunfire. That could be hugely problematic for them and their elite cavalry. They may need the Thunder Barge to crack open that nut. Meanwhile, the Fireborn fighting Nordlanders in and amongst spears. Curious to see how that will go. They seem to be dealing tons of damage there anyway. And the Marienburg Landship dropping a deluge of mortar and cannon fire, supported by Theodore Bruckner and Elspeth von Draken. Meanwhile, bit of a gun line, Napoleon-style warfare breaking out on the central causeway. Tamurkhan and his elite waiting in reserve. There's a good chance they'll be able to get some flanks in once the Imperials and the rest of the forces of order stream their way onto the plaza. And they will do so. Not many bodies left holding back the tides of order. Tons of firepower being unleashed by that Marienburg Landship. Fireborn not long for this world now, but they are doing a wonderful job of ripping and tearing. They've killed tons of infantry. They did overextend, and without the support from Ironsworn or Chaos Dwarf Warriors to kind of be that meat shield in between them and the targets they're attacking, they will not be able to hold out for much longer. Multiple lines of gunners on this side. Fireglaves and Chaos Dwarf Warriors with Bardiche axes and all kinds of weird bayonet contraptions. They're into melee now. Peasant archers fired all of their ammunition, and they're going to be fodder, which will provide a little bit of cushion while the Knights of Banon and the rest of the foot squires charge their way down the hill. Hold, Dawizar! Hold! I know the horrors from the warp. These peasants, they smell so bad, they look like Nurgle cultists. They smell like great unclean ones. They're infected with all kinds of venereal diseases. Gonorrhea, syphilis. They have crabs. It's horrible. Rapunzel channeling her inner Joan of Arc and busting her way through. I love the idea of Chaos Dwarfs holding back the tides of unwashed peasants and being terrified at what they are seeing. Of a Dark Tide game or story arc where the evil beings that worship horrible dark gods must stand brave and resilient against a never-ending swarm of stinky dudes with pitchforks. Talk about subverting expectations. D&D, stuff that in your crack pipe and smoke it. Rapunzel leading the charge amongst her Holy Grail Knights and the rest of the dismounted Bretonians. Oh, that was a big one. They'll be able to tank through it. Again, Dreadquake Mortar, not the one-shot potential that it has in the base game. It's still gonna hurt while they push through. On the other side, it looks like the Empire is gearing up for their final push. The Ironsworn are holding on for the moment, but Outriders pulling through their formation. They all just got knocked down by that charge. We'll see how those Ironbreaker equivalents are able to hold the line there. They seem to be doing pretty well so far, down to half HP, but giving as good as they are getting. Massively outnumbered on that side. Cannons firing into the Plague Drones, haven't called their name yet. Tamurkhan, the Maggot Lord, charging in through the dismounted Knights, and we are about to see him cause some serious carnage. Look at that HP drop on the Knights. Immediately losing about 30% of their health pool. Now the Destroyer's in there too, and the Pestigors, the diseased children of the Cloven Ones, bloated and covered in boils, providing the support and that HP sink the big monsters need to basically just absorb some of the damage and attacks from the enemy so they don't get isolated and destroyed in a long, dragged-out fight. Zatan the Black and the rest of the elite troops alongside Case the Befouled and his Rot Knights have retreated over there to help reinforce. Ironsworn holding the line at the final capture point. And in these deep, dark caverns, they will make their last stand. Rotflies coming in to support as well, and I believe that is a Death Head variant, so they should be able to help from the sky in a multitude of ways. First is by throwing grenades, biological ones, but then the plague drones can descend or surround that Thunder Barge and perhaps kill it in melee. Well, that would probably take quite a long time. Thunder Barge is a bit of a tanky beast, even in the Duke's Damnations. Knights with a full surround on the destroyer. More magic missiles and Dreadquake mortars thrown into the mix here. That's a really nice combo. As long as you don't hit the virulent pestigores with some friendly fire, that could be awesome. Breath attack coming in from Tamurkhan. I believe he only has 3 charges of unspeakable foulness. That was the second one he's used, I do believe. And that was a dirty one. Just killing off an entire unit, basically. And the pestigores are deciding to retreat, which is maybe the right call, given how close those Dreadquake mortars are getting. Destroyer is finally starting to get dragged down, but looking for that perfect charge down the length of the enemy battle formations and into the Grail Knights now. The Knights of Manon dropping some kind of Flames of Osgore would be my guess from Jazoath the Ashen. Big volcano spell erupting from the earth below, and there have been some really good casts from the Chaos Dwarfs here, keeping the forces of chaos in the game, even though they are being pushed back into the final capture plaza. This one looks like it's going to go down to the wire here. Bodies just littering the causeway, and Imperial forces of Nuln and Wissenland still making their push, but oh, the Marienburg landship overextended. I guess going after the single entity monsters. It is dying now. I don't know if that was a micro mistake or it just decided to move up and blast them with cannons and got too far forward. But it got gooned out by the Maggot Lord and some of those single entities. And now the Immortals are into the fray. These are essentially Berserker troops surrounding High King Thorgrim Grudgebearer, and they will not lose models while their HP is above a certain threshold. Here come the Rot Knights though. Kaze the Befouled on top his Doggo of Doom and a whole host of putrid, disgusting looking knights. They are looking for a beautiful hammer and anvil, and it looks like they might just get it. There is no mobility on this side whatsoever, other than the gyrocopters, which are currently indisposed and in melee with the plague drones of Nurgle. Net down on Thorgrim Grudgebearer, the sadistic snare from Zatan the Black, netting him in place and debuffing him. The ranged troops run down, and the Rot Knights are going to continue through their formation and charge directly into the rear. And this could be game-changing. We've already seen what their charge can do. 150 kills on a charge earlier. Another big one here. I've seen better, but they're going to break the Hammerers at least. And they're into Thorgrim Grudgebearer now. And that will probably be the end of the High King. But meanwhile, the Thunder Barge dropping bombs from on high. Potentially a nightmare situation for the Rot Knights because they are fully embedded in that fight with Thorgrim, who is getting completely bullied right now. Oh, that looks horrible. Oh, Lord. But they'll get a full surround off on him, right? And that makes them prime target for the bombs from those gyrocopters and the Thunder Barge. And it looks like Thorgrim will die a rather ignoble death. He is being Swiffer wet-jetted, bounced around like a beach volleyball or a pink pony piñata at Cousin Luisa's quinceañera. And over on the other side, it looks like the Empire, man, they're really taking their sweet time with that push. I don't know why they're taking so long. Get your asses moving, playa. They're kind of sitting back, and it actually might be a problem for the Forces of Order, because if they could have linked up a little bit earlier, they would have basically hammer and anvil, or at least flank charged a lot of these Chaos Dwarf infantry. The Forces of Order have broken through. They're winning here, and Raponce is just chopping heads left, right, and center, racking up the kills, up to 27 now, and the Royal Hippogriff Knights are basically looking to strike that final killing blow. The big ones for the Forces of Chaos are still alive. Tamurkhan the Maggot Lord is still there, Zatan the Black, and Cinder Breath being ridden by Drazoath the Ashen as the Immortals charge in and butcher those poor peasants. Yeah, that's not going to be a fair fight at all, but more, yet more, Order infantry streaming down the mountainside. And of course, they still have some elites remaining. Don't know what became of the gyrocopters, but the Royal Hippogriff Knights are a big problem for the forces of Chaos. And the Iron Sword making their stand as the Thunder Barge tries to rip them in from the side. And there goes the Marienburg Landship, activating its steam engine and running over them too. Balance of Power's dead even. 33 minutes in, the Befouled and his Rat Knights riding to ruin. Hippogriff Knights with Harmonic Convergence active. Sadistic Snare pinning down Henri Le Massif. Tamurkhan wanted to go in, but the Royal Hippogriff Knights provided the cushion for the push-in. The forces of order needed and made him think twice about that. That's what they want. Balance of Power shifting a little bit more in favor of the forces of order, but this is still very much a toss-up and some really important duels popping off right now. Vortex of some kind about to activate. Drazowath killed the Marienburg Landship, or the Rat Knights did. One of those, anyway. And a Purple Son of Xerius directly on top of the Toad Dragon, cutting out all sound. I was legitimately wondering if I had just gone deaf for a second. That was crazy. I forgot that it has that sound effect. It literally just cuts out all noise when you put your camera close, which is a really cool little effect there. Oh, the gunners are getting nasty volleys in from point-blank range. That huge hitbox for Bubalos is normally a great thing because it means when he gets that flank charge, he will devastate infantry formations. But they can't miss from that close. Is that another Flames of Osgore from Drazowath? His Winds of Magic pool seems endless this battle. Oh, another big one. And that should be the end of the handgunners, but is it the end of the Toad Dragon, of the Maggot Lord? They need him to survive if they want to win this battle and defend Uzkulak, the place of skulls. It's getting really dicey for the forces of Chaos now as Henri Le Massif descends from on high and the butchery begins. The Rat Knights, in case the Befouled are being cut down. Tamurkhan, the Maggot Lord, is on slivers of HP and may not even be able to activate his special worm attack. He's breaking towards the edge of the battlefield right now. Henri Le Massif charging in alongside the remaining Royal Hippogriff Knights, and a very important fight, but it's over. The forces of order, who have taken devastating losses this battle, are going to capture the city. The balance of power shifted heavily in their favor. It's about 99% now. And it is over. Yeah, Tamurkhan will not return. He will descend into the Great Canal beneath the city and grab a boat and say, I'm getting the hell out of here. And he'll have to rebuild his army if he wants to march on Nuln and take vengeance against Theodore Bruckner and Elspeth von Draken. Super fun fight here. Really thematic and fun. Relatively lore-friendly siege battle. Obviously not exactly what happened in Tamurkhan, Throne of Chaos, but very much heavily inspired by that source material. And we had some great moments in this one, some awesome engagements and plays, and an incredible siege map by FSF Ranger. So give him his props. He very much deserves it. So, Pajad, with the Legion of Osgore, did some serious work with those Flames of Osgore. Myself playing as the Pallid Nurslings with Tamurkhan and Case the Befouled. Did put some work in with the Toad Dragon and the Rat Knights. Plague Bears did great on the walls. And Drazowath, man, whoa. Huge kills and damage values alongside that Dreadquake Mortar and the Kadai Destroyer. Zatan the Black and these Chaos Dwarfs kept a lot in reserve for that final fight. And they held their own there. So, nice plays from some Portuguese being in that final capture point to hold back the tide. Thorgrim didn't do much this battle. Thunderbarge was a big factor in the very late stages as it started unleashing a lot of its ammunition at point-blank range, and we got some cool plays from those shield breakers. Elspeth von Draken used very much in a support role this game. Theodore Bruckner led the charge at that gate. Marienburg Landship put some work into with those mortars, and Rapunzel and the Elite Knights of Bretonnia. Not a lot of mounted troops in this one, but the Royal Hippogriff Knights really were probably the MVPs at almost 5,000 damage value, picking off all the important stuff in that finale and really turning what was a very close battle into a lopsided final engagement. Hope y'all enjoyed. Thank you to the Duke, Orion's Hope, and Boki, and I will see you all in the next one.